So now here we're going to break it down into sections. I'm going to start from the beginning when I walk in and sit down, and I'm going to go through to the video, and then we'll stop and kind of dissect what we talk about. Then we're going to go from the start of the end of the video through to the magazine tour, and we'll stop and kind of dissect that. Then we're going to do the magazine tour, and then we're going into the close, and we're going to take it all the way from the very beginning all the way to the signing of the contract. And so that really, hopefully you can see something in here which will really help you fine tune your presentation and go from there. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen here real quickly. Okay. I tell you what, John Schrock, give me a thumbs up if you see the start of the BBM presentation. Okay, good enough. Okay, here we go. I'm with a realtor. Hello, John. Appreciate you taking time to meet with me today. I know both of our time is very valuable as business owners. I think you're going to find it time well spent, though, because I think we've got the best tool ever created for helping your business grow. And I think you'll see that. And then at the end, we can move forward. I tell you, my plan is this. I'm going to start out by telling you a little bit about our magazine. I'm going to then show you a quick video. I'm going to take a tour of one of the magazines. And all along the way, I'm going to be showing you how we do things different and better to help your business grow. And then at the end, I'm going to ask you to come on board as a partner with me. Does that make sense? Okay, well, I tell you what, the first thing I want to do is talk about our distribution area. I told you we're a magazine. If you look right here, you'll see the map of who all gets the magazine. Now, you'll notice all these little red blocks around areas. And I'll tell you, the reason that we target those areas in red is because those are high-end homes. And research shows that most of the profit comes from your high-end communities. And so we target the homeowners who will actually generate the most profit. Now, as a realtor, the equation's pretty simple. A higher end home means bigger sales and higher commissions. And so that will help you grow your business. And you and I both know it takes about as much work to sell a $100,000 home as it does to sell a $500,000 home, but you get 5 times more commission there. So now, if you look at the magazine, I'm going to show you our covers. One of the things you're going to notice right off the bat is we feature families on the front cover. Now, that's our bread and butter. And why do we do that? We do that because if we go to a small distribution area and a family that lives in that community is on the front cover, every single person who gets the magazine is connected to that family in some way. They may not know them, but maybe they shop at the same Kroger, they go to the same dentist, whatever. They're connected. And so that guarantees people read the magazine. And if they read the magazine, they're going to see your ad. And then we take your ad and we push it out digitally. So those same high-end homeowners are seeing your ad over and over and just getting that strong impression of what you mean to them and their community. Now, along the way, we've become the fastest growing media company in North America. We've gone from 6 magazines to over 1,200 in a little more than a decade. And the reason we've been able to do that is because we effectively help businesses like yours grow. Simply put, if our customers and our partners weren't growing, we wouldn't be growing. Now, one of the things I want to point on this slide here is those awards. Now, most of those awards you don't care about. I get it. Who cares what awards we win? But the ones you should care about are those middle ones. The Graphic Design USA Awards. They are specifically awards given to us year after year after year for excellence in helping businesses just like yours grow their campaign. And if you and I can agree to become partners today, then you'll get to use those award-winning artists to build a campaign to help you grow. Now, I'm often asked, why the growth? Why are you guys growing when everybody else in media, all the magazines, traditional Time, Newsweek, all of those are shrinking? Why are you guys growing? And the reason is pretty simple. We took the best of all these other advertising tools and rolled them into one place. We took the best of a magazine where you're holding it in your hand and the trust factor that comes from reading something on paper. And we combined that with direct mail, going straight to the customers that you most need to reach. We added in a little social media. In fact, we're known as the Facebook of print media because, social media is all about connecting people who share interests. And we do that in the magazine over the community content that we have. And then we added the best of the digital, being able to put your message in front of people who know your brand over and over again. When you combine all those up, we simply have the best tool for growing a business like yours. Now, I've got a quick video here I want to show you. This is our founder going into details about the little things we do with the magazine that most people wouldn't even recognize, that are specifically designed to help your business. Well, now show the video. Now, think about what all I accomplished in that short amount of time. I set an agenda at the beginning. And notice I said, I appreciate your time rather than saying thank you for your time. When you say thank you for your time, you establish a hierarchy. They're the business owner, you're the lowly salesperson who really appreciates them taking the time out of their busy day to meet with you. When you say you appreciate it, you establish a peer relationship. You're both busy owners and you both have valuable time. And I think this is going to be time well spent. And then I mapped out the course of the presentation. So now they will listen knowing that I'm not about to drop a price on them at any point, and they'll pay closer attention. Then I go into the map and I emphasize that the reason we go to these homes is because they're profitable customers. Then I went to why the growth. I did the family. What's the big deal about the family on the cover? It causes people to read the magazine. People won't automatically make that assumption. We have to connect those dots for them. Then why the growth? I talked about all the things we did, and then I'm right into the video. So I've really set the tone for the entire presentation at this point. So we've got the video now, and we're moving forward. So we go through the video, we get to the end. Now I'm going to take it from here through the magazine tour. So come out of this. Does that make sense? Yeah, it kind of did to me too. In fact, when I heard it the first time, I was like, man, why didn't I think of this years ago? I do want to expand a little bit on something he said there. Advertising versus sponsorships. A lot of people throw those words around interchangeably, but they're actually very different in how they work. I mean, think about this for a second. A normal ad says, buy my product, buy my product, buy my product, buy my product, and usually throws in discounts and other things to get attention. And that's great in certain situations, but that's not how the people who are your best customers, your profitable customers, in our case, your high-end homeowners, make decisions. They make decisions based off of shared values. Do you share their values? Are you part of their community? Are you good at what you do? In other words, they make decisions based on their brand perception of you. And so what we do in the magazine is we give them these magazines every month for free that make them feel really good about their community. And we make sure they know that those good feelings are coming from businesses just like yours, so that when they need you, they know you're there and part of their community. So we work differently than most advertising because we work in a way that your best customers make decisions. And it's very cool. Now, I tell you what, a lot of times people will hear we're with a magazine company and they automatically compare us to other magazine companies in the past. Well, I can tell you, we are so different in the way we work for your business that you really can't even compare. In fact, the best comparison that I have for how we help your business would be NASCAR. And I know you probably hear that and you're like, NASCAR? Well, the truth of the matter is let's look at 5-Hour Energy for an example of how we help your business. 5-Hour Energy was struggling. They were gathering dust on the shelves, and suddenly they decided they wanted to take a different approach to advertising. And they decided to invest their entire marketing budget with NASCAR. Now, why? Because they knew NASCAR was a very tight community. And if they could find a way to infiltrate that community, that sales would go through the roof. So what did they do? They went out and sponsored a car. $2 million, 2-year contract to sponsor a car. And every week, all the NASCAR fans got to see the 5-Hour Energy logo circling the track. Whether they were at home watching it on TV or whether they were actually at the racetrack, they got to see the 5-Hour Energy circling the track. So what happened? What happened was, at first, they thought, oh man, those folks just want our money. Normal advertising. But then the longer they got to see 5-Hour Energy as part of their community, the more they accepted them, until one day they adopted them as part of their community and sales went through the roof. And it worked so well, 5-Hour Energy turned around and did the same thing with the PGA Tour. Because what they did is they identified a community that was important to them, like you did earlier with this Harrington Lake community. And they chose a tool that inserted them into that community long enough for that community to adopt them. And that's what we do with the magazine. We help this community of high-end homeowners adopt your business, because once they do that, they're not going to use anybody else. It's as simple as that. Now, we also do something really cool. We take your ad from the magazine and we repurpose it digitally onto Google Display Ads, Facebook, Instagram. We also have our sports site. I mean, these are all ways that we make advertising incredibly simple. As a business owner, I know you want to think about advertising as little as possible. And that's why we offer a one-stop solution where literally your entire thoughts that you have to put into advertising will take place each month when I drop a magazine by for about 10 minutes. And that's it. Rest of the time you can grow your business. So we take the ads and we put them out digitally. And we put them in all the different places so these same high-end homeowners continue to see your message. And we also push it out to our sports site. And so the local folks are seeing you more and more, because the more they see you, when they know from the magazine that you're part of their community, the stronger they're going to feel about your business. And that's how they make decisions. We're going to turn around and give you a report each month that show you how many times your ad was seen. And really, when you look at our digital, the prices I'm going to show you here in a little bit when we start talking about our partnership are going to be for the best we have. But we have digital we have a really good product. We have a better product that includes some Facebook retargeting. And then we got a really good product. And what we're going to show you here in a little bit, it's going to start there, and then we'll work our way to something you're comfortable with. Now, I want to recap some of the stuff here, because I know I've dumped a lot of information on you, but I just want to emphasize why BVM is the most effective tool. Yeah, there's a lot of good tools out there, but we're the most effective for several reasons. First is our open rate. You heard Dave on that video earlier talking about a 90% open rate. That's because of that family on the front cover. The market influence. Every single magazine goes to a homeowner. As a realtor, you need homeowners. They're the ones that are going to decide to sell their home. It doesn't do you a lot of good to put your message in front of people living at senior centers or renting apartments or things like that. You need your message in front of homeowners, and that's exactly who we go to. The premium distribution puts them right in the mailbox. It doesn't get thrown up on the porch, or they don't have to pick it up in grocery stores or doctor's offices. It just goes straight to their home. And then we have that high value penetration that we get into those neighborhoods, and we help them identify and adopt you as their realtor. And then everything in the magazine's tied to their life, which once again creates those warm, fuzzy feelings about your business in relation to their community. Okay, boom. Now I'm ready to go to the tour. Now, you see I did the one thing. Most people butcher the social media slide. the 5-hour energy slide, because they don't understand the connection. The connection is, it is an exact metaphor for our business. What do our advertisers do? They identify a community they want to reach. They insert themselves into that community through our magazine for an extended period of time until that community adopts them. And that's exactly the 5-hour energy store. It's what 5-hour energy did. It's they identified a community they wanted to reach. They inserted themselves in that community over a long period of time until that community adopted them and sales exploded. And being able to tell that story effectively helps tremendously when you get to the points about duration and all of that kind of thing later on. I also talked about how the sponsorships are more closely tied to how profitable customers make decisions. And that is so point. Remember this. What we do better than anybody else is give people a reason to choose one business over another. And you know, with our expert contributor, which we'll talk a little bit here when we go into the tour, that's the most powerful tool ever for that. And then basically what I do, I went through, I got through the digital very quickly. You don't spend a lot of time talking about impressions and all that kind of stuff, because all that does is raise more questions. The key to digital, and when you're presenting it, is to keep reminding them of how simple it is. All businesses hate advertising. They hate dealing with it. They don't understand it. They know it's a necessary evil if they're going to survive and grow. The less time they have to think about it each month, the more likely they are to come on board. So you really just want to emphasize the simplicity of what we do. And then I get to the end and I recap. You know, sometimes people skip through that recap slide. Never do that, because what do we tell our advertisers? Branding takes repetition. And so repeating stuff to help it soak in is part of the sales process. A lot of people get to that slide and say, well, I've already said all that stuff, I don't need to say it again. Yes, you do. Yes, you do, because repetition is required for something to sink in. And notice also throughout this entire theme, what am I doing? I am continually emphasizing how we can help their business and how we do it better than anybody else. So when I get to the end, they've heard it so many times, they don't question it anymore, because they've heard it so many times and it's branded on them by the end of the presentation. So now we're ready for the tour. So the tour, I'm going to go back and stop sharing for just a second, because I want to go back to the camera here. Let me pop this in here, and I've got my Mayberry. Now, when you're doing the Mayberry tour, I'm going to walk through this in just a second, but there are some things I want you to notice as I go through it. The first one is always use a pen. You're across from that, always use a pen to point. Now, that may seem incredibly simple, but what's going to happen if I use my finger to point? I'm going to be pointing here as I go through it. And at some point, subconsciously, I'm going to switch fingers. And I'm going to start pointing with my middle finger. And that's going to become a huge distraction to the client, because I'm flipping them off while I'm doing this. And inevitably, if you don't believe you do that, try doing it with your finger one time and look up halfway through it and realize you switch fingers. It will happen every time. So use a pen to point, and that stops that little distraction. That may seem like an incredibly simple thing, but it could be a really, really big thing. Now, next thing we want to look at is I'm going to paint them into the magazine. I think you'll see what I mean by that. Most of the people we meet with lack the imagination to see themselves in a magazine like this. They just, you know, that's like, you know, everybody deals with imposter syndrome. And everybody thinks all the other business owners in my field are better than I am and understand this stuff so much better and have so many more resources. So what we don't want is to fuel that distance between that client and people who advertise in our magazine. So we want to narrow that by painting them in and inspiring their imagination. So as we go through this, I think you're gonna see what we're looking. So, and just the tour alone, if all you did was walk in, sit down in the chair, show them the video, and do a good tour, you will make sales. Everything else is gravy. It feeds on there, but master the tour. So let's go through the tour real quickly. Okay. So I'm holding it up. Say, hey, I want to walk you through one of our magazines. Now, this is a Mayberry. It's a fake magazine. It's a demo magazine that we created just so you can see everything we have to offer. It's like going to a car lot. They show you the special showroom edition instead of the one out in the parking lot. Now, I want to start by here. I've talked a lot about this family on the front cover and how that gets people to read it. But you know, one of the cool things is it also gets people to keep the magazine. Because if I know the Smith family, even if I just know them a little bit, I'm never going to throw this away because it seems disrespectful. That means this magazine is going to sit on the countertop of most of these homes for years to come. That means long after your TV ad has been watched and forgotten, long after your radio ad was heard and you moved on, long after your internet ad popped up on the screen and then disappeared, your ad in this magazine is going to be alive and well on these counters in these homes. People could look up 2 or 3 years from now and still get your message from the magazine because of that family on the front cover. That is huge. Now, when I open it up, first thing you're going to see here is this giant full-page ad. It's the first thing people see when they open the magazine. Can you imagine if they open it up and the first thing they see is your picture standing in front of one of the homes you just sold and said, you know, John Preston has you covered. Harrington Lake's top premier realtor. And that's the first thing they see. They get this magazine in their mail. They're excited about it. And they started off by seeing your image first. And they're going to start to associate you with the magazine. Now, one of the cool things is all our campaigns come with full artwork. So we take care of designing this for you at no extra cost. And if you bought ads, you know that that's a big deal. Now, as we go through here, I'm going to write a little welcome letter every month that basically reminds these homeowners that they're getting this magazine for free because John Preston Realtor is paying the bill. And that is huge because it lets them know that you're giving back to this community every month. We come on through here now. I will tell you right here, we see our expert contributors. This is, you know, one of the key things, especially right now when the housing market's down a little bit, is people have to have a reason to pick you over every other realtor out there. And there's no better way than doing that than being the expert in our magazine. If you were the residential real estate expert, your picture would be right here. Your contact information would be right here, and you would be listed as the only residential expert. Now, we could have a dozen realtors in the magazine, but Lord knows there's enough homes to go around. But you would get first choice because you were the expert. Now, with that, in addition to have your picture in the front of every magazine, you get to write articles that show people you know what you're doing. So right here, let's say you get to do 4 articles a year. So let's say right next April, you know, when the housing market's starting to heat up with the spring and everything, maybe your article here would be your ad. Here would be your picture. And right here might be an article about how to know if now's the right time to sell your house. And what that does is that starts to build trust between you and that customer so that they know they can trust you. Most of the time, people have to hire you before they can develop trust. These expert articles do that automatically because you teach them something. As we go through here, you'll see there's expert articles the other way here. All of the artwork, once again, would be you. All these ads, this is a half page. This is a full page. It's just ways to get your face in front of these high-end homeowners. This is kind of a cool section right here. This is our kids page. Now, one of the things about magazines that is really universally unique is that we have the ability to control minds. Now, what do I mean by that? This page here has things for kids to do. Now, imagine you're a parent and you read this article about activities for your kids. You're automatically going to start thinking about your kids. And what are we going to do this weekend? What are we going to do this night? Am I doing enough activities with my kids? And what better time for a piano studio that teaches music lessons to be in front of a parent than at the exact moment they're thinking about their kids? That's how powerful being in a magazine in the right situation comes into play. Now we've got the feature family article. This is the most read page of the magazine. The story about the family from the front. Everybody who knows them reads this article trying to learn more about them. Everybody who doesn't know them reads this article trying to figure out why they should. And that's why this article gets read, and that makes this an incredibly powerful spot for your ad. I mean, think about that for a second. Imagine we're flipping through, we're reading about the family, and we get to this, and this picture has you, your wife, your 3 kids, maybe grandpa out there, and it simply says, John Preston, realtor, with all your information. And then across the top, the Preston family supports the families of Harrington Lake. You want to talk about warm, fuzzy feelings? My gosh, I'm automatically going to think of you when it's time to sell my house. That is powerful. Now, here's the granddaddy, the 2-page center spread. A lot of times people get hung up on sending a message to their competition. And ad size sends that message a lot. First of all, these high-end homeowners, they want to do business with people that they know are successful. And nothing says I'm successful more than a 2-page center spread in a magazine. But think about your competitors. Imagine if every other realtor is flipping through this magazine and sees your whole family scattered across here with maybe the last dozen or so high-end homes that you sold right here. Basically, I kind of call this my pee on the fire hydrant ad, because what it does is it marks this territory as being yours, because nobody else can compete with that. Nobody else can compete with that, and it establishes you as the dominant realtor for Harrington Lake. And that comes in big. And then you come on through here. Here's another one of those content pages. We talk about pets. People think about their pets. Lo and behold, there's a veterinarian ad right there. Once again, it's part of that mind control you get with magazines that you don't get anywhere else. Now, I want to show you real quickly on this page here. You see these 2 little ads at the bottom? They don't look like much. They're our 8th page ads, but we call those our community awareness ad. And the reason we do that is these little ads make sure that everybody that lives in the neighborhoods that get these magazines know you exist. You know, a lot of these campaigns we're talking about are all about giving them a reason to pick you, but they can't pick you at all if they don't know you exist. So these little ads here just raise the community awareness of your business. So everyone knows that John Preston's a realtor here, because that's where everything has to start. So if we don't do anything else today, we want to leave here with one of these so that these people can start recognizing your name and know who you are. Now, over here on this other side, we got a real estate page. This is another spot specifically designed for realtors that shows all of the homes that have sold on Harrington Lake in the last 30 days. Now, what's significant about this is, as a homeowner myself, my home's an investment, and I want to know what my investment is worth. So this kind of becomes the stock market report for my investment. I get to find out what other homes are selling for and use that to gauge the value of my home. Second most read page in the magazine. And as I'm seeing all of these homes and thinking about my own home, and if I'm going to sell, once again, what better time for a realtor to have their image in front of me than at the exact moment I'm wondering what my home's worth? That's a very powerful location. And you just continue on through here. You see the various ad sizes. All of this content is directly associated with this community. We've got the events calendar that keeps people coming back over and over and over again to see it. We've got recipes. We've got classifieds that we throw in there. All of this, once again, is designed to tie directly. Classifieds are pretty cool when you think about it, because people can certainly go on Craigslist and all these other places and post free classifieds ads. But if you live in an $800,000 home and you've got a couch you're trying to get rid of, do you really want to post on Craigslist for everybody to come visit your house? Of course not. But when you have a magazine where everybody else getting it owns $700,000 homes as well, you feel pretty safe putting it in there. And that's that level of trust people have with our magazines, that if you're a part of it, they trust you the same way. And then finally, you got the inside back cover. An interesting thing, half the people in the world read magazines back to front. And so for many of those folks, this is the first thing they see. And then finally, here on the back cover, in the mailbox, here's the label, here's your ad. Can you imagine them opening up the mailbox, getting all giddy because their monthly magazine's there, and the first thing they see is John Preston Realtor with your face staring them in the face? You're going to be so connected and ingrained in this community that you're going to become their realtor. And that's what it's all about. Now, you see how complete that tour was? And you see how that tour alone could sell the magazine if you do it right? I mean, that's the way the tour needs to be. And you see how I always painted him in. I had ideas for the articles as an expert. Once again, if I had said this, think about this for a second. If I showed that expert page, and I am talking to somebody who's dealing with imposter syndrome, and the first thing I say is, these are our experts. They get to write articles. They get to have their picture in there. All that does is distance that person psychologically from those experts. But when I say, you get to have your picture here, you get to write articles and then make suggestions about what those articles would be, now they can really see themselves in that role and they can move forward with that. And then every single ad, everything I talked about, I painted the picture of their business in there, because the more they can start to see themselves in those magazine roles, the more likely they are to sign. Simple as that. Okay, now we're going to pick it up and finish up the presentation, and then we'll stop. This part's going to be really quickly, so I'm going to go back to my shared screen here real fast. Let me fast forward to the end of this presentation. Blah blah. If you were doing the slides, you would use this. So then I'm on this slide here, and this is where I culminate the presentation. And so I come back out to this and I say, now we've gone through a lot of stuff here with the feature sponsor, the expert contributors, real estate sponsor, the content sponsor, etc., the community awareness ad to make sure everybody knows you exist. As you can see, we have spent a lot of time with marketing science and research to build the best tool ever created to help a business like yours grow. Can you think of a better way to reach this market? Now, notice how comfortable that question flowed. And in fact, I just gave them the answer. They don't have to think about it because I mapped it out like that. So they're going to come back and say, no, I can't think of any better way. And that's the end of the presentation. Now, at this stage, it's very important that you recognize that's the end of the presentation. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, we've all seen attorney shows and legal thrillers on TV and in movies. And so most of us are aware that attorneys are forbidden from giving new evidence in their closing arguments. The closing arguments are all about just summing up what's already been said. This is significant here because you've sold them now. They like the magazine. They're interested in being a part of it. Now, when we shift to the close, it's about making them feel comfortable making a decision. Because that's so in order to do that, up until this point, we've been very energetic and excited because our excitement is going to translate into their excitement for the product. Now we got to change gears. From this point forward, we go from excited to empathetic, because everything now is about finding something that they are comfortable signing. So we got to change that. So this is where a switch is thrown right here. Hey, as you can see, we've put a lot of time and research into creating the best tool ever for a business like yours to grow their business. Can you think of a better way to reach this market? No. Now I'm ready to start the close. My first step for starting the close is to transition my tone. So let me just ask you real quickly. I get the feeling you really like the magazine. If money wasn't an issue, would you want to be a part of it? They're always going to say yes. And now you're ready to move forward with control. Now, what do I mean by that? You're ready to move forward with control. The key to a close is you have to control the conversation. One of the biggest understandings that you need to have as you go into the close is that they want in the magazine, but they need to feel comfortable with it. And as you go through this, you want to make sure they feel comfortable, but you also need to realize they don't want to talk to you about money. Nobody likes talking about money with a total stranger. And certainly nobody likes talking about the success or lack thereof of their business with a total stranger. So that's a conversation. That money conversation is a conversation they don't want to have. And if you allow them to dictate when that conversation occurs, it will never occur. Simple as that. Think about this for a second. You get to the end of your close. You ask for the sale. They say they need to think about it. Can you give me a day? Can you call me back tomorrow morning? And you're like, hey, okay, day, sure, we can do that. And you call them back the next day and they ghost you. Anybody ever had that happen? Anybody ever had that happen where, somebody's so excited about the magazine and they say call them back the next day and you call them back and they never answer the phone? The reason they don't answer the phone is because you gave them control of when a conversation needs to take place that they don't want to have. So they look down at their phone and say, if I answer this, I either have to lie to him or I have to have a conversation about my business finances that I'd rather not have. And so they ghost you. Or they pick up the phone, they give you a total BS answer of why they've decided they're going to put their ad on the bottom of the track team tennis shoes instead of in the magazine. Because they just don't want to tell you that they simply can't afford that, because that makes their business look bad. So that question at the end of the presentation, as you're segueing into the close, gives you that power. And I'll show you how in just a little bit. So, hey, I get the feeling you like the magazine. If money wasn't an issue, would you want to be a part of it? They're always going to say yes. And then you say, well, my job now is to find a package that will help you grow your business at a price you're comfortable with. First thing we need to do is decide on an ad size. Take a look at this screen. These are the ad sizes we have in the magazine. We've got tens of thousands of advertisers in our magazines across the country. So we've gotten a pretty good feel for what is for what's the right for each business. So read through these real quickly and just tell me, how do you see your business? Now I back off and I give them some time to read through it. Give them some time to think. It's okay if you're silent for a little bit. Let them read. Let them process this information. Let them move forward. Now, after a little bit, you'll want to say, hey, did you come up with an ad size? Now, you're going to hear a couple different things here. The first thing you might hear is, well, it depends on the price. And if they do that, kind of laugh and say, yeah, of course it does. If I didn't, everybody'd have my 2-page center spread. And just joke about it and say, hey, but we're just looking theoretical right now. If money wasn't an issue, what would be the right ad size for your business? And if they don't pick one immediately, at that point, then pick one for them. And either pick the half or the full. Because you can always come down, you can't go up. So let's say they don't give me a size. And I say, okay, I tell you what, let's do. I want to make sure that you get to see the best we have to offer, everything we have. So I'm going to start off with a full page. It's a very robust size ad. It sends the message that you're powerful in this community. But if it turns out that it's more than you're comfortable with, we'll work our way down to something you are. We'll start at the top of the mountain and we'll come back down the path together until we get to something you're comfortable with. Does that sound like a plan? Okay, well, I tell you what, next thing I want to talk about is duration. You know, we as I mentioned earlier with that 5-hour energy story, it would not have done any good whatsoever for 5-hour energy to drive twice around the track and think it made a difference. It takes people a long time to make decisions. It takes people a long time to absorb a message. So the shortest we do is 12 months. That's usually for people who aren't sure this is their right audience. But most of our folks are 36. All of our experts are 36 because we don't want to have fly-by-night companies as experts. We want to have companies that are here to stay, that are going to serve my readers for years to come. So all of them are experts. We also offer something pretty cool. We offer, I call it inflation insurance, where your ad in the magazine, the price of it will never go up. Whatever we decide on today, that'll be your price 20 years from now in the magazine. And that's pretty cool. Because I know 20 years from now, you got no idea how much gasoline's going to cost, rent's going to cost, insurance is going to cost. But I can tell you right now what your print ad in this magazine is going to cost. Because it never goes up. And that's pretty cool. Now, tell you what, I've got a quick video here that I'm going to show you that talks a little bit about the expert contributor while I work up some pricing. Now, this is where if you've got 2 devices, you'll want to show the video, gives them something to do while you do the prices. We're going to assume right now that you don't, however. So I'm going to come over to the custom solution and notice before I ever started, I already have a solution pulled up because I can change this if I need to. But since most of the time I'm going to start with the full page pro, I went ahead and had that pulled up. If they had come back and said that they wanted a 3rd page, all I got to do is right now is exit out the 3rd page, exit out the full, put in the 3rd, and suddenly there's my options. And so it's that simple. So I just started it with the full page from the very beginning, and then I can make adjustments. This way, it's not going to take me more than a few seconds to come back with them with a price. Now, notice the discounting I'm starting with is I've got no discount at all on my 12-month. I've got 20% on my 36-month, and I've got 30% on my expert. Now, notice up here at the top, I also changed these boxes. Trial. The 12-month campaign is a trial. The 36-month campaign is a discount. And the best value is the expert contributor. Now, I want to establish that. Now, also, the reason you want to pick these three prices, unless your expert sold, is it's called the Goldilocks effect. Nobody wants to pay the highest price for anything. But nobody also wants to pay the lowest price, because we're conditioned if you buy cheap, you get cheap. But then suddenly there's a price right in the middle that includes all kinds of bells and whistles for being an expert. So this is where I am. Now I want to show them the solution, and here's what that's going to look like. I come back with the solution, and I've got here, I was like, okay, I mentioned to you earlier that I was going to start with the full page. You know, it's everything we've got to help your business. And you know, if that's too much, if you're uncomfortable with that, don't worry about that. We can find something. We've got something for every size budget. We'll work our way back down to something you're comfortable with. I just want to show you everything we got. So I'm going to start out with our trial. That's our 12-month campaign. And the reason I call it trial is that's usually for businesses that just aren't sure this is the right audience for them. Now, most people want the best deal. So if we look at the discount, which is basically virtually the same as the trial, it's just for 36 months. Since I know that in your entire real estate career, there's never going to be a time when you don't want to be the dominant realtor in this market, it would just make sense to go ahead and lock that in, because as you can see, both of these packages include the best digital package that we offer. And the longer also gets you the business profile. That's where we do a story about your business. Now, notice the pricing here. There is almost a $500 a month difference between doing it for 12 months and for 36. That means if you decide to go the longer deal, you're going to save about $6,000 a year on your campaign that you can put into other uses. Now, obviously, the best value is the expert contributor. We talked about that. There's only going to be one real estate expert, residential expert in the magazine. And if that's where you decide to go, you're there for 36 months. You get to claim that spot and lock it down for 3 years. Nobody else can get it. You get to write, that's the best pro we have for the digital, the Facebook and the digital. It's also, you get to write up to 4 articles a year. That's 12 articles over the course of the agreement. Your picture's in there every month as the residential. When you add all of that value together with the business profile and all those articles and everything, it's about $20,000 of extra page space that you get with that campaign. And it's right there in the middle. It's not quite as high as the trial, but it's more than the discount, but it's clearly the best value. If you were going to pick one of these 3, which one would be best for your business? Notice I didn't say which one do you like, what do you want to do? If you were going to pick one of these 3, which one would be best for your business? Well, it's obviously a no-brainer the way I presented it, that the expert contributor is best for their business. So they come back and they say, well, the expert contributor. And now here's where your first appointment discount comes in. When they pick that one, you do not want to ask for the sale and then come back with the first appointment discount. So you want to do that before you ask for the sale. So they've picked the expert contributor, and I'm getting ready to add the discount. I was like, oh man, I'm glad to hear you say that, because I really need a real estate expert in the magazine. I tell you what we can do though. I mentioned this earlier that we have some time-saving discounts because we're both too busy to let this drag on. Let me knock that out real quickly and I'll show you what we can do today. So if we do that, now I come back over here to this, I deselect the other options to keep it simple. I don't want to confuse them. And I come over here, and I'm just going to go ahead and change this. I could do it in the discount up here, but I'm going to do it this way. Actually, let me do it this way. Okay, I come up here to my settings, pop up here. I want to do the promotional discount. I'm going to call that time saver. Don't use first appointment. Use time saver discount, because that's really what it is. Time saver discount, and I would probably already have had this saved down. I want to do 15%. I want to come down here, And notice these prices dropped. So then I come back and I display it again. And I'll say, now, if we can take care of this today, I can knock quite a bit extra off of that price and get it down to below $1,850, down to $1,826 a month, as long as we can take care of it today. And that includes an extra 15% discount just to save us time. We're both too busy to let this drag on. At the $1,826, are you ready to become my expert realtor? And ask for the sale. Ask for the sale. If you don't know what your closing question is, you don't have one, and you're not asking for the sale. Every single time my question is, are you ready to become my real estate expert? Are you ready to become my plumbing expert? Are you ready to become my roofing expert? Are you ready to become my back page sponsor? Whatever it is. Because that's a yes or no answer, you can move on. A lot of times when I do role plays, I hear this. Well, what do you think? You'd be amazed how many times I hear people ask that. Well, what do you think? That's not a closing question. That is not a closing question. That is an open-end, let's sit here for 30 minutes and not make a decision question. The closing question is, are you ready to become my blank, 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 whatever it is? And if you're not doing that, you're not asking for the sale. If you don't ask for the sale, you're not going to make the sale, period. End of discussion. So are you ready to become there? Now, here's where, at that point, they're going to say one of a few things. First is, yeah, let's do it. That's the one you want to hear. And if you do everything right, you'll hear that more often than you think. The second thing you're going to hear is, I need to think about it. Now, it's very important to realize I need to think about it never means I need to think about it. It doesn't. It doesn't. I need to think about it means that's really too high, but I don't know how to tell you that without making my business look bad. So I'm hoping that if you give me till Monday, I will either be able to talk myself into buying it or figure out some way to tell you I can't buy it that doesn't make me look bad. And none of those result in sales. This is that point where you have to move forward. So, and this is where that question we asked earlier comes in. If I tell you I need to think about it, or I tell you no, then I come back and I simply say, hey, just a minute ago, you told me that if money wasn't an issue, you'd want to be in the magazine. Can I assume that you're just not comfortable with that price? Now, feel how empathetic I am? Because I want them to admit to me that they're just not comfortable with that price. And the reason you use that language instead of, can I assume the price is too high? Does that mean you can't afford it? Can I assume you can't afford that? All of those are attacking questions. They fuel the business owner's insecurity. By saying, can I assume you're just not comfortable with that? That's an elevating question. That shows that you respect their decision and their ability to make a good decision. Can I assume you're just not comfortable with that? They're going to say, yeah, it's a little bit more than I expected. And then that's when the question comes in. Wait, hey, are we in the ballpark? Or are we out in the parking lot? Or are we way out in outer space? And how they answer that question determines where you go from here. So if they turn around and say, yeah, I tell you, we're close, then all you do is say, hey, I tell you what, let's change it up then, because I don't want you doing anything you're not comfortable with. Let's just do this. I tell you what, if we were to just pull back from the best digital packages we have, and we change that up to where we just go with really good, packages, our premium package, still gets you the retargeting. And if we do that, I can knock that down another couple $100, actually more than that, to 1566. Are you more comfortable with 1566 than you were 1830? You are? Well, at that price, are you ready to be my real estate expert? And if we want to increase and go with better digital packages down the road, we always can. Boom. And I ask for it. I knocked $200 off. If we were close before, we're going to leave with a contract. Simple as that. Now let's play that out again. Let's go back and say that instead of saying that we're in the park in the ballpark, we're out in the parking lot. So let me come back here, and I want to go back to where we were on these. Okay, so we're back at Pro. So that takes us back to the 1826. And I say, okay, so we're out in the parking lot, so we need to come down a little bit. I tell you what, let's do. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and I'm going to bring both of these down from the Pro to the Premium. That still gets you your retargeting. But I'm also going to bring the print ad down from a full page to a half page. Now, I'll tell you what I can do. I'll go ahead and upgrade you the first month to that full page at no extra cost. And if I do that, then you can see what it looks like, and we can always go back to it later. And then I might come up here, and I've got remember, I'm at 35% right now. I've got a little bit more. If I was to change that to 38% and 35%, look what that did. That brought me down below $1,000. So they don't have to know I did that. So I can say, hey, if we do this, if we bring that full page back to a half page and give you the free first month upgrade so you can look at it and see what it looks like. And we can get this taken care of today, and we bring the digitals fed that to the premium. I can now get that under $1,000 a month, and you're still my real estate expert, and you still have all those bells and whistles. You just have a little bit smaller ad size and a little bit less digital. Are you ready to be my expert? Boom. Now, see how I'm doing? I'm just working it back accordingly. And then if they come back and say, ooh, I tell you what, if we could just get that down to about 800, I'd be fine. So then I can come back in here, close it out again, look at it. And I was like, well, let's go ahead and let's leave Facebook our premium. Let's take Google down to the display ad. Let's go ahead and take my discount down to 5, and let's bring this to a third instead of that. Okay. And let's see what that gets us. 760, boom. That's where I said I needed to get to. Display the solution and say, here, let's do this. If we scale back to Google a little further to just the basic, we keep the Facebook at the premium, we bring that back to a third, and now I'll upgrade you to a half page so you see what that looks like. As long as we can make a decision today, I can do that for $760. Are you ready to be my real estate expert? Walk away with the contract because I gave them what they were looking for. Now, if they come back, let's go back to the beginning again. And this time they basically peed themselves when they saw the full page. And they said, oh, we're way, way out in outer space. Okay, let me come back here to where we were. Okay, so we're back. Now let me actually do display. Let me take this back to the Pro. Take this back to the Pro. I tell you what, I love the ability to manipulate these so easily. Come back up here. Should be back to my 1826. So we're back where we were originally. And said, are we in the ballpark, or are we out in the parking lot, or are we way out in outer space? And they come back and they catch their breath, pick themselves up off the floor and say, oh my God, no, we're way, way, way out in outer space. So I say, okay, well, I tell you what, let's do. Let's just get you in the magazine and make sure everybody knows who you are. because that's the most important thing. Let's get to this. Let's go ahead right now. And I can't have you at the expert, but let's just get you in as a regular sponsor. We'll do one of those community awareness ads we talked about. That just, once again, it makes sure that everybody knows who John Preston Realtor is. So we're going to do that. And I'm just going to do a community awareness ad. And if I do that and then just give you just a little bit of the basic on the digital, that'll get your exposure out there. It'll get your name in that. And if we do all of that, we can knock that out for $357 a month. That's basically, less one commission will cover your entire 3-year cost at that, just by getting your name out there and recognized. So if we can do that, are you ready to become in the magazine so that everybody in my neighborhood knows you exist? Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and write the contract up. Just go ahead and let me know which credit card you want to put in. Most people do the one that gets them the most bonus miles. And then start writing the contract up. You're better off leaving there with a 8th-page ad than you are otherwise. Or you could even take it a little smaller if you wanted to. You want to keep a little bit of digital, but let's say we just completely got rid of the Google altogether and just kept the Facebook there at the basics. Now I got you under $300. And you get the Facebook. We'll still do that story about your business. You get your ad in there every month, and that figures in to be about 8 cents per home, just for the record. That's pretty cool. That puts your message that for 8 cents a home, it guarantees everybody knows who you are when they decide that it's time to sell the house. You ready to move forward? I've got that contract right here. Just go ahead and let me know what card you want to put it on. Boom. Make them at that point tell you to stop. Because earlier they've acknowledged they want in the magazine. At this point, what's stopping them is their own insecurity and their own fears. Help them overcome those by just making it comfortable for them. Okay, now I know a lot of questions have been rolling in. I'm going to go ahead and just look through these real quickly and see if there's any of them that jump out as let's see. I'm going to go ahead and stop the sharing here. Orthonis Realtor, what was that website? I see your question. What was that website? Oh, Mackenzie, I don't know what you were talking about there. Just remind me again. Yeah, we'll do the restaurants in the morning. So that comes into play. Senior sitters, high-end realtors. Yeah, here's the thing. I see a question from Bradley about what about high-end realtors who brokerages produce their own magazines? Let me ask you this. How many of those do you get in the mail that you don't read? I mean, those magazines assume that somebody is ready at this moment to sell their house. And so when you put those magazines out, you're only reaching the people who are already ready to sell their house or are looking to buy. And at any given moment, that's a very small percentage. So what they do is different than what we do. And the other part of that is, and remember, within a brokerage, when you talk realtors, you talk 3 different levels. Realtor number 1 is the realtor that got their real estate license to sell grandma's house and may never get another listing. They will never advertise no matter what. Realtor number 2 are the ones that sit around the brokerage all day and wait for the phone to ring and are fine with the rotation, because that's the way brokerages work. They, well, the next call goes to Lisa, and then the call comes in and it gets forwarded to Lisa, and then Penny's the next one. The third type is the one we're interested in. They're the one that sit in the brokerage house, look around them, and see every single person in their own brokerage as their competitors. They're the ones that go out and want people to call RE/MAX and not say, hey, I have to sell my house, They want people who call Remax and say, hey, I want to talk to Tina. And those are the ones that we go for. And when you look at those brokerage-driven magazines, there's nothing in there that separates or elevates one realtor above another. It's all about elevating the brokerage above the others. And your top realtors basically say, screw everybody else in my brokerage. I want every listing. And so that's what we do different from what they do. I don't know if that answered your question or not. There we go. I mean, Gina, you hit the nail on the head. This is what most people do. Most people don't see, they present it as a good magazine and not the best magazine. And I'll tell you, a lot of us have to deal with our own insecurities there as well, because we kind of feel embarrassed to try to claim we have the best magazine. I mean, can you imagine how many Mercedes the Mercedes salesperson would say if he actually presented his car as an equal to a Kia? How many sales is he going to make? None. He makes Mercedes sales because he's damn proud of the fact that a Mercedes is a better car. And that needs to be the way we approach our presentation. You should be overjoyed that we cost more than everything else, because you get what you pay for. You get what you pay for. If you cheap means cheap. Cheap advertising means bad advertising. And you have to be able to own that and stand up for that. And people respect that. People respect that. People are willing to pay more for better. But you have to be willing to say you're better. And that's what comes into play. Let's see. Identify your community and search yourself into that community. You're right, Larry. You have to basically, I mean, your goal as a business owner is for that community to adopt you as one of them. And that's what we do with the magazine. Let's see. Question, individual real estate agents versus the brokerage firm angle. I would always go after individual real estate agents first, because your top level folks, I mean, think about the ones you see on billboards. Think about the ones you see on the side of buses. They're not content to let their brokerage advertise for them. They want to be separated from the other realtors in their own brokerage. And so just focus on that. Now, if you do go to an actual brokerage, be aware that may not set well with some of the realtors, because they want to separate themselves from that. And brokerages also, your top level realtors know that an ad for a brokerage means the broker is the one that's going to come out most ahead on it. But he's advertising on behalf of his realtors because he knows every phone call that comes in, he gets 3%. And so you want to make sure that you recognize that competitive nature within the brokerages themselves. Let's see. Yes, I'm recording it, Gina. The free first month upgrade. That is something that everybody has option to do for the first. Now, if you're not in print yet, you've got the opportunity as part of a charter sponsorship to come in and offer them an upgrade in the month of their choice, because you don't want all your clients in the very first issue of the magazine getting a free upgrade, or it knocks your pages out of whack. But if you're an in-print magazine, you always have the option of giving them a free upgrade the first month they're in the magazine. And you'll see when you do the contract, there's a little pull-down menu for that says first month upgrade. Let's see. Okay. And okay, here's the thing. Here's what you run into. Hannah, you're talking about everybody dumping into Zillow. Zillow is all about selling homes. It does nothing to get listings. And as I mentioned, right now, over the last 4 or 5 years, homes have been selling like hotcakes. And so all you have to do is be a realtor, and listings were going to fall in your lap. So if listings are falling in your lap and you use Zillow to sell homes, then that's a perfect model for you. Now that the housing market has slowed up, you have to have listings before there's anything to put on Zillow. And Zillow does nothing to give one homeowner a reason to pick you as the realtor over somebody else. So when somebody goes to sell their homes and 200 realtors converge on them like sharks on blood in the water, there has to be a reason for me to pick you over everyone else. And if all 200 of them are in Zillow, that's not a reason. That doesn't separate me. So that's where we come in. Zillow's great for selling homes once you have listings. It is absolutely useless for getting a listing in the first place because everybody has their homes on there. And you don't have any way of elevating yourself above your competitors. I don't want to discount, Bradley. I don't want to discount the popular spots. What do you think? Here's the thing. The discounting is there for you to get something. And what happens is that's where getting the longer duration comes into play, because it gives you the psychological effect. If you don't discount at all, you're muddying the decision-making process. What the discounting does is it allows you to simplify the decision. Most people, think about this for a second. You walk in to an appliance store looking for a washing machine, and they have 3 choices there that are evenly distributed in terms of what they bring to the table. Cheap, mid-level, expensive with all the bells and whistles. That's a relatively easy decision to make. And then once you pick which one of the 3 you want, then you just have a yes or no answer. If you don't discount, it becomes virtually impossible to differentiate between the options. So the decision becomes difficult. And what you end up with is a whole bunch of people who like it, but they can't make up their mind because they like this a little bit, they like this a little bit, they like this a little bit. The key is to use the discounting to simplify the decision in the mind of the buyer. And you can, as long as you can leverage that for a 3-year agreement, you're going to come out better off in the end because you've got that stability in your magazine. Now, on that point there, and this is something, if you guys don't take anything else away from this, write this down. If you have a client that can't decide between 2 ad sizes, for example, and we've probably all had this. We're sitting there, man, I tell you what, I'm going to be your expert. Oh, yeah, this is awesome. I want to write these articles. I want to blah, 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 blah. I just don't know if I want to do a 3rd page or a half page. If you leave it like that, they will never be in your magazine. Because the biggest struggle we all have is we don't want to make the wrong decision. And so they will get so fixated on 3rd versus half that they actually never decide anything. Because if they don't decide anything, they don't ever have to worry about picking the wrong size. So when you're in that situation, you got to make up their mind for them. You got to make up their mind for them. So if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I want to be your expert contributor, I just don't know if I want to be the 3rd page or the half page. Can you give me a call in the morning? I'll let you know which one. I know they're not going to sign in the morning. They're not going to, because they're going to get so worked up between those ad sizes that they're just simply not going to do it. They're going to kick the can down the road until they forget why they're doing it. And it's that hope that we get suckered into thinking, oh man, this is cool. I know when I call tomorrow, I'm going to get at least a 3rd. No, you're not. It's not going to happen. They're not going to sign. They're going to ghost you because they never make up their mind on the size. And accepting that from the very beginning and simply saying, hey, what that tells me is that you like the half page, but you like the price of the 3rd page better. You're more comfortable. I'm just going to take that half page off the table right now. Well, I'm not going to sell you that, because if you're not comfortable with the price of the half page, I don't want you signing it. Let's just do this. Let's go ahead right now and let's lock in this third page expert. I'll give you a free upgrade to the half page the first month. You can see whether you like it or not, and we can decide down the road if you want to upgrade. Let's go ahead and just sign you on the third today, and you're my expert contributor, and we can go ahead and start planning out your campaign, and then sign the contract. Because at that point, they're more comfortable with the third page price. And when you present it like that, you tell them you're going to give them the upgrade anyway the first month. It takes all the doubt out. Now they're ready to move forward because they're excited about being your agent. Okay. Let's see. Okay. How about realtors who do not want to be in the magazine because of other realtors? Okay. Here's that question is an idiot question, just so you know. And I don't mean to insult them in that regard, but that shows an absolute lack of understanding about advertising. It's funny, they will say that, and then in the same breath say, I'm going to be on Zillow, where every realtor is on Zillow. I mean, you can't have it both ways, guys. If you want to be the only person, then why are you advertising on a site that has everybody? Here's the reality of it. The more businesses that advertise in a particular category, the more powerful the ad becomes. Now, I'm going to explain this to you, and I'm going to explain it to you how that would work. And then I'm also going to give you an example that proves me right. Okay, let's imagine that I am on the fence whether I'm going to sell my home or not. And everybody, when they're making a decision, they have a certain amount of exposure they need to have before they pull the trigger. So I'm trying to decide whether to sell my home or not. I just am not I haven't decided yet. And I open up my magazine and I see an ad for a realtor. So when I see that ad for the realtor, there's a little voice in the back of my head that says, is it time for me to sell my house? And then I go on to the next page. And a couple pages later, I see another ad for a realtor. I'm wondering if I need to sell my house. And all of us have a certain number of times we have to ask ourselves that question before we say, hell yeah, it's time to sell my house. And the more exposure I have to that, the faster I'm going to make the decision to sell my house. That's just the psychology of advertising. Now, I'm going to offer this as absolute proof to you, and I guarantee you every single one of you is going to say, I never thought of that before. Let's imagine you're driving down the interstate, and you look over, and your gas light is kind of below the quarter. It's getting almost to the 8th page, and you think, I need to stop and get gas pretty soon. And you're coming up on an exit, and you've got that little blue sign on the side of the road that tells you what all's at that exit. And it says gasoline, and there's just one gas station underneath of it. You will never stop. You will keep right on going. But when you come to that sign that shows the next exit with 8 gas stations, that's where you'll stop and get your gas. Because you see the volume and you associate that exit as the place to go. Now, how many times have you all pulled off on that exit that only had one gas station and got up there to the top of the ramp and you see a closed sign with grass growing where the pumps used to be? A gas station that's by itself cannot survive, because psychologically we associate a bunch of gas stations as being a better place to get gas. And that same thing applies in advertising. Is the more realtors that are in a magazine, the more people associate that magazine with real estate information and selling their home. Same thing goes for every category. It raises the total number of customer base that's out there to fight over. Same thing goes. If I've got 4 countertop companies in a magazine that I'm reading, the chances of me getting off the fence and redoing my countertops goes through the roof. If there's just one, I make an impression. And if I happen to be at that point where I'm just about ready to make the decision, it'll work. But the more I'm reminded of how crappy my current countertops are, the more likely I am to pull the trigger on that. And that's the way advertising works. Starbucks will never open a coffee shop in a town that doesn't have a good coffee shop. Chick-fil-A will never open a restaurant in a town that doesn't already have a good chicken restaurant, because they know that they're elevating the total exposure for their industry. And so, like I said, any realtor that tells you they don't want to be in because anyone's in there, they're an idiot and they don't understand advertising. And somehow you've got to help them understand that. Okay. Let's see what we got next here. Head interpretation. This was awesome. Truth. Yeah. Like I said, do you think Burger King advertises? If McDonald's is advertising in the Super Bowl, do you think that's going to be the only restaurant that shows up advertising in the Super Bowl? Of course not. Budweiser advertising in the Super Bowl. You'll also notice Miller Lite and Coors and everything else advertising in the Super Bowl. That is just an absolute lack of understanding about advertising. Okay, I think we're caught up on the questions. I did record this, so I will be sending out a link to the recording here in a little bit. Hopefully, if anybody's got any last questions, feel free to ask them now. I know we've kind of gone long today, but hopefully it's hopefully y'all found it helpful. Okay, guys, let's go rock and roll. Let's make some sales.